Hey friends, welcome back. You probably think that I'm about to talk about books today, and I kind of am, but not in the same way that I normally do. I'm actually going to be talking about writing today. I'm not going to give you any writing tips. I'm actually going to be talking about the publishing process. You might be wondering what I have to say about the publishing process because you're like, Sarai does not have any novels published. I have one essay published. That's it. And I did not have to go through this process to get that published. However, I currently work as an intern for a literary agent. And so I see all of the behind the scenes stuff that goes on between an agent and a writer. So I'm here to give you some tips on how to get your query letter noticed. Today's episode is not going to teach you how to write a query letter. That's going to be for a later date. This is going to be the stuff you do before you even send out your query letter so that you can have a more successful publishing process. Keep watching to learn the tips. Today's episode of So You Want to Be Published is not focusing on query letters specifically or how to write a novel. Obviously, the biggest and most important step in getting your novel published is having a well-written story and an awesome query letter. But that's not the only thing that goes into it, unfortunately. There's some legwork you have to do beforehand that helps you and an agent have a really good relationship and just kind of makes it easier for the agent to notice your letter at the right time and be excited to publish your book. So I'm going to give you 3 big categories that kind of break down into smaller tips that are going to help you know what goes on behind the scenes so that you can do everything possible to get your query letter noticed. Tip number 1. Do your research. One of the ways that you can do research to get your novel published is follow agents on social media. That way you'll know when they're open to submissions, what kind of work they're looking for, and things like that. And they often actually tweet out like tips and stuff for writers who are sending in query letters, and those things are super useful. So follow all the agents you're looking at on social media if you can find their profiles. Go to different agents' websites so that you can see the type of books they've published in the past and what else they're looking for when you actually submit your query letter. This way you'll know if this agent is actually the right fit for you or if they're looking for something in a totally different direction. There are some writers who probably send out their query letters to a bunch of people even if they're not looking for those types of novels at that moment, and those people are just automatic no's. If an agent says on their website, okay, I'm not looking for YA fantasy right now, I'm only looking for middle grade fantasy. If you send in YA fantasy, they're just gonna automatically say no to you because they're not looking for that at that moment. You should always know the market that your book falls into and other things that are happening in that same sphere when you're trying to publish your book. If you go to your agent and you have no idea what's going on in the world of publishing or in books at that moment or anything current in the genre that you write in, you're just going to seem like an uninformed author and it makes you harder to work with. Agents are looking for authors who are easy to work with, who know what's going on so they don't have to explain everything to you, and that'll make the process smoother for them. So you don't want to go into it having no idea what's going on in that realm, because then it just makes you hard to work with and they're just not going to pick you for that reason. Tip number 2 is every writer's nightmare, but it's network, network, network. And I know this sucks because as writers, all we want to do is stay home and write or read or watch Netflix, but you really do have to network if you want to make the query letter process as smooth as possible. You can network in a couple of different ways. One of those ways is through author events. So if you go to author events and you meet other writers, it's really going to help you because you never know who you're going to meet there. You're going to meet authors, of course, who are going to be able to help you, give you tips, whatever, they know what's going on at that moment, but you also never know who else might be at those types of events. You might meet agents there, you might meet just people who know a lot about the book world and would be good connections to have. So just be sure to go to those types of events and make friends with as many other writers as you possibly can. Another way to network, and this is probably the most important one, go to as many conventions as possible where you know there are going to be agents, because agents are looking for people to work with, and if you meet them face to face and pitch your book to them, or even if you don't pitch your book, even if you just meet them and get to know them, it's going to do wonders for you when you actually send the query letter in, because you can put in your query letter, hey, I met you at this awesome event that you went to and you talked to me and I told you about my book, so here's the pitch. And that's going to be really awesome because even if your book isn't that great, you're going to get them to pay attention to you because they feel like they have to give you a personal response at that point. So just make as much face-to-face contact as possible with agents, because then you already have an in. Once again, another way to network is to get on social media. So get in there, follow people, interact with agents whenever possible, because it'll keep you in the know and it'll keep you on their radar. And tip number 3 is build your platform. One of the best ways that you can build a platform is to have an Instagram. And I know we all have Instagrams, but you need to be using your Instagram. So connect with book people, connect with writers, authors, agents, publishing companies, whoever you can connect with. Talk about books, talk about writing, whatever you can do, and build a following. Because if you do this, these people are all gonna see when you have updates, when you say, hey, by the way, I'm getting a book published. Those people are gonna be so excited to support you because you've been doing that for them and because you've been making these awesome cyber connections. There is a bookstagrammer who put out a debut novel. It's coming out, I think, like next month or something, and she has a massive amount of followers, and I'm pretty sure she has pre-orders, and it's a debut novel. That's pretty unlikely to happen, but if you have a following, these people are already excited for your success because you're all supporting each other. Definitely consider starting a blog to talk about writing and updates, because people will be able to see your writing, like people in your life, and also potentially strangers. People will see these things, get supportive, and get excited for the projects that you're working on. Another really great way to get your name out there in the writing world is to get on as many writing platforms as you possibly can. Get on there, get your name out there, put your work on there, talk to people, interact, read what other people have written. All of this stuff about building a platform is so important because agents, again, want to work with someone who's easy to work with. And that doesn't just mean you know what you're talking about. It also means you're going to be easy to market. If no one's ever heard of you and you're some random person who wrote a book, like, yeah, you could become a bestseller, but it's not as likely as if you already have a huge following. People are super excited about what you're writing. Agents want to work with people who are already marketable because that makes it easier to sell you to a publishing company. Publishing companies have to spend so much money on advertising that if you can do some of the marketing for yourself, you become a very appealing client. Once you've followed these tips, it'll make it easier for an agent to see your query at the right time, under the right circumstances, and actually be able to give you an offer. Obviously, you can get published if you don't do any of those things, so if you're not comfortable doing those things, go for it, write a book anyway, send out a query. It's totally possible that you'll get published no matter what you do. This legwork, however, just makes it a whole lot easier for you to seem really, really awesome to an agent and make it more likely for them to actually want to give you an offer. So I really hope that these tips help you and that you can get out there and get writing so that we can move on to query letters, because those are sometimes more stressful than writing a novel itself. Thanks so much for watching my tips on what to do before you actually send out your query letter. I hope they help a lot, and I hope you can get to writing. I know that's what I'm doing tonight because I need to get the butt in the chair and get writing. Please like and subscribe, comment if you have other tips for writers or tips for me that I haven't thought of yet, and I can bring those up in another video. I'm going to link below to the essay that I have published so you can take a look at it, and have a great day.